Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Colleen and I have had some time off over Christmas, but I'm happy to be back again and bringing you some more recipes. Today I am going to work on a recipe that's been asked of me quite a few times now. I'm going to make a pizza crust in my bread maker, and then I am going to make a pizza with the crust that comes out of the bread maker, and I will take you through the whole process. So if you have been wondering about this, here it is. I will be right back after this and we'll get started. Okay, I've got the pan out of my Hamilton Beach bread maker, which I have sitting here on the counter, that I use for all my bread making, and just find it the handiest. It is literally, to me, the handiest tool in my kitchen, because I can do so much with it that there are things like a waffle maker. You're going to make waffles, and yes, you can make different kinds of waffles, but it's not something that I get out of the cupboard on a weekly basis, off the top shelf, no less, to make sure that I'm using it to its full potential. So I'm going to put everything into the pan, and then I'll put it in there, and I'll explain that as I go. I have here 1 1/4 cups of tepid lukewarm water, and that will be the basis of the liquid for our mixture. Because we're going to use yeast, and I like to feed the yeast, I'm going to add some sugar to it. It gives it just a little jump. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar. You do not need to add that much. You could use honey instead of the sugar. There's just lots of variations. I know that a lot of people worry about flops with bread, but they seldom happen if you follow a good recipe and just kind of follow the basic rules. So I feel like my head's cut off today. Anyway, I am going to just carry on here like I'm in my right mind or something. And I am going to add a teaspoon of salt to this mixture. And I am going to add 1 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. Now, some people do not add the salt at this point, they just add the yeast, but I am using quick rise yeast. And I just find that it doesn't really make a difference, because everything's going in there within a minute's time and then into the machine right away. Now I'm going to add to this some oil, and I'm just looking down to make sure I don't mess this up. So 1 1/2 teaspoons of olive oil. I'm working with just a light olive oil. It doesn't change the flavor of the dough at all. Move some of these things out of the way. And now I need 3 3/4 cups of flour. So hopefully I've got enough in here and I don't have to reload. I'm using all-purpose flour. I actually considered getting some pizza flour, which I've never worked with before, so I don't know how it would work. But then I thought, you know, most of you at home who are watching this would then have to go out and buy a special flour for this process, and I just didn't think that was, you know, necessary, because I make it with all-purpose flour all the time. And I don't want any of you to have to, you know, run out and at the last minute buy special ingredients for your pizza dough or for whatever recipes you're making. I try to keep it as simple as possible, and I think that's just right on the button. I try to keep it as simple as possible so that you can use things that are already in your cupboard. Okay, I'm just going to check. I've got the water in there, the oil, flour, salt, sugar, and yeast. That's what you need. You can pare this down even a little bit, but this is my basic recipe that I use that'll make me 2 small pizzas. So I'm going to put this into my Hamilton Beach. This isn't a paid advertisement or anything like that. This just happens to be the machine that I have. And this has been a workhorse for me for a long time. I'm going to set it on cycle number 8, which is the dough cycle. And it will mix the dough and rise it for a total of 1.5 hours. And then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. So I'm going to get this started, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to make a white sauce for this pizza. Because today we're making a white sauce pizza with chicken and some onion jam on it. So I think it's going to turn out delicious, and I'll be right back in a minute and we'll get started on that white sauce. So here we're going to get started on the white sauce, and you can hear the bread machine cranking around there in the background because I want to make the white sauce close to the time that I do the pizza dough, because the white sauce I like to cool so it can thicken up a little bit. Now, like any white sauce, you're going to want to use equal parts of butter and flour to make a roux. And I'm just got a little saucepan. I'm going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just using this old soup spoon here. And then I'm going to, once the butter is melted, I'm going to add the flour to the pan. Some other things that I'm going to add in here are 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a little bit of pepper, and a little bit of salt, and I'm going to use milk instead of water to thicken my white sauce because I think that it gives it more depth of flavor. Often white sauce pizzas include maybe ricotta cheese, or I've heard of people using Alfredo sauce for the white sauce, which you can just buy at the grocery store in a bottle, and that would probably make things go faster, but this process is really quite easy, so I don't see why I would do that. Pardon me, especially considering that I'm only going to use the cup that I'm making. I probably won't even use all of that. So to open a jar of Alfredo sauce means that in the next day or two, I'm going to have to make pasta to use up the rest of the Alfredo sauce. So if you have that in your plan, then by all means, if that works for you. But I find this to be very economical to do it this way, and it's really good. I think a jar of Alfredo sauce on the shelf when I looked the other day for it was $6.99, and that is not even a full quart or a full liter. And this, cost me probably 50 cents for the butter. No, maybe not that much. And then whatever a glass of milk is worth. You can't really count the spices when you're working on something like this, I don't think. So my butter is getting melty, and I'm going to add the flour. I'm going to add 2 spoons of flour, just as I did the butter. I'm going to reach over here in front of you all rude-like, and I'm going to grab my whisk. I'm going to whisk this, and I'm going to whisk it for maybe a minute or 2. I don't mind if it even gets a little brown, because I want to be sure that the flour taste is cooked out of it. So I'll keep my eyes on that, and in the meantime I'm going to reach for the garlic powder. I'm going to add some garlic powder to that. Turn the stove down a little bit because I don't think it needs to be that high. Then I'm going to add some pepper, just a few shakes. I can smell that toasty smell of toasted butter. Brown butter almost. It's so good. Whoops, struggling with the salt. This is more like an 1/8 than it is a 1/4 teaspoon. Don't need that much. And And last but not least, I'm going to pull the milk over here, and I'm going to add a little bit to start with. And yes, that's a reaction you can expect. And it's going to get all sticky and stick like that, which is okay too. And then we'll just keep adding it a little bit at a time and stirring in between additions so that we don't have any lumps in it. And a little more. And I'm going to put this into a bowl when it's finished cooking. I'll spoon it into a bowl, and I will cover the bowl with some plastic wrap, and not just the bowl, but I'll put it right down on top of the white sauce because I don't want the top of it hanging out while it's in the refrigerator. And there. Did that take 3 minutes? I'm not even sure if it took that long. And certainly saved us a lot of money. Now I'm just going to wait for it to come back to the bubble. It looks kind of runny here, but as it cools, it thickens up. And there we go. We have white sauce for a pizza. Now the only thing I have left to add to this is I'm going to add some Parmesan cheese to it. Now I have this flaky kind of Parmesan, and I'm going to call it about 1/4 cup, might be a little more. And that's going to give us some really good flavor. And it will melt right in there. And there we go. Our white sauce is complete. And you can see it gets a little stringy once you add the cheese. And tastes delicious. So I'm going to shut that off now. Put it into a bowl. Cover it with plastic wrap, and it's going to go into the fridge. And it's going to sit there until the pizza dough is ready. And then we'll come back and we'll put this pizza together. Well, here I have the bread right out of the machine. It's already starting to lose a little bit of its volume just being outside here. I am going to flour this a little bit. I'm not sure what size this is, but I'm going to give it a go. I have to confess, this is a brand new one that I've only used once before, but I know that it won't take all of this bread. So we're going to be doing a little bit of, what would they call it? Rustic. Rustic, let's use that. A little bit of rustic baking today. So I'm going to dump this out. This is going to be a bit of a sticky dough, so it's probably not going to be all that happy to come out of the machine. And the machine, of course, keeps it nice and warm. Actually, it came out pretty clean. And I am just going to press this down a little bit, and then I am going to cut it roughly in half, because I think I only need half of this for today's recipe. This other half I am going to just cover with a bowl. I'm going to grab a bowl. So I've just covered it with a bowl. And then this piece here, I'm going to just bring all the outside edges together and form it into a bit of a ball. And I am going to freeze this one for a later date. So I am just going to use a bit of coconut spray. You could use olive oil, whatever you have on hand. This is just so that the dough ball doesn't stick when you bring it out of the freezer. And these will last in the freezer for quite a while. I've used them up to 3 months with good success. And we'll make one pizza right here. So I'll put this into the freezer. And when I take it out to use it from the freezer, I'm just going to leave it on the counter for about an hour and a half or 2 hours to let it thaw. You could take it out of the freezer the night before even and put it into the fridge and then bring it to the counter. But once you've brought it out, It rolls out, it works just exactly like the fresh pizza dough. Now we're gonna leave this dough under cover for 5 to 10 minutes to help it relax a little bit. More time is better, but we don't want to spend all day at this. So I will be back in about 5 minutes time, and we will get busy on this simple, straightforward pizza. Now I've left it for 10 minutes on the counter, and I don't know if you can notice or not, but it has risen enough to lift the bowl up off the counter. I'm just going to get it out of the bowl here. And there are so many ways you can do this. You could do it by hand, which is where you go around the, I guess it's all by hand. What am I saying? But you go around the outside edge of the dough, keeping the middle sort of intact. Just a big hump. And you form your crust on the outside. And then you just work your way out, maintaining your outside ledge. And keep working your dough all the way around. I will never be working at a pizzeria because my pizzas never seem to come out round. They're always some odd shape, but round isn't one of them. So the longer this would be left out to rest, the more pliable it will be and easier to work with. Now, if you are, like I tend to be, not the most patient, then you could definitely take a rolling pin to it. I have my rolling pin out here, so if my patience wears out, I'll use the pin. I'm just going to stretch it. I don't want to stretch it too much because I don't want it to get too thin in the middle, because then it tends to burn in the middle and before the rest of it's ready to go. So I am just going to continue to pull and stretch and work my way around it just with my hand cupped up, and try and maintain that edge a bit. Now I'm starting to see thin parts in the middle, and I don't want it to get too thin, so now I'm just going to go back to working. And this could all happen really fast if I'd left it longer in the resting stage. So keep that in mind. You can definitely rest it longer, and it gives the bread more elasticity. It gives it a chance to relax. And there. I still am not all entirely excited about this. We'll just keep going. And work our way around until we have it where we want it. Now, as I said, I definitely do not have the skill that a pizza maker would have. But there we go. I'm going to get it into the pan and just try and work that last little bit. And not too bad. Now I'm just going to go right around the outside edge and use some pressure to more or less make a crust or a rim. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to this. Just going to lift it a little bit and make sure that it isn't sticking to the pan. In fact, I think what I might do, now that I've got it about where I want it, is just to grab the oil and lift it a little bit, if I can hold on to it with my greasy hand, and just give it a spray. Hopefully this will stop it from sticking to the pan. And there we go. Now, today, this is going to be a chicken onion jam pizza. So we'll start off with our white sauce that we made. And it's set up really well. And I'm just going to, I think, use pretty much the whole thing on here. Just going to spread it around. And it's very tasty. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I used powdered garlic, like garlic powder in it. You could definitely use fresh garlic. That would be delicious. Yeah, I'm going to use it all. And these aren't nice tidy pizzas. These are the kind that drip. So, yeah, that's a lot. Maybe I will take a little bit of that back. Not a terrific amount of it, but it is pretty thick there. Okay, so we've got that on. I'm just going to move a few things out of the way here. And I'm going to bring over my board. And on here, I have some grated cheese. This is pizza mozzarella, but any mozzarella would do. And I grated it myself. And I'm just going to add a layer of that. They say you can't have too much cheese, but they are wrong. You can have. So sparingly maybe. And then this is a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, and I've just used about 1.5 bits of the breast. You could definitely you know, use leftover chicken. I'm probably not going to use all of this anyway. It's quite a bit. I think I see a chicken sandwich coming up tomorrow with the rest of the parts of the chicken and with the leftover chicken breast here. That's plenty. Now, last thing that I'm going to add a little more cheese on top, but I made this onion jam. This doesn't help you one little bit. Onion jam last year, no, in 2022. And it is so good. I wish I'd have made a video. And I am just going to dollop this around. I put it into the microwave to warm it just a little bit so it would be easier to spread. I've heated the oven to 450 degrees. And there, I think that's good. Now, at this point you could drizzle stuff on. I'm thinking maybe a bit of balsamic vinegar. You could add some fresh herbs to it. I am going to add a little more of this Parmesan cheese, just a quick sprinkle. And then just top it off with the last little bit, a light dusting of this mozzarella, and this is ready for the oven. The oven's preheated at 450. It's going in there. It'll be, I don't know, I want to say maybe 18 to 20 minutes, but I'll keep an eye on it and let you know exactly. Keeping in mind that all ovens are different, unless they've been calibrated, which most of us are not going to do that in our home kitchens. So I will come back when I got this mess cleaned up and when this pizza is ready for serving. There you go. Wow, smoking hot. You might be able to still see it bubbling away there. Well, this is going to be a treat, and we are certainly going to enjoy it. I'm just going to double check to make sure it's going to release okay. it is. I can see that already. The crust is nice and brown. Now I left this for 16 minutes, which I think is plenty. Everything was bubbly throughout. And this is also what's for dinner tonight at our house. So one of the interesting things about pizza is that you truly can use this pizza crust recipe, and anything that goes on it, it makes it a pizza. Whether it's white sauce or red sauce or pepperoni or chicken, it doesn't really matter. What you're having essentially is bread with food on top of it. And I think we can all say that that's probably a great idea. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, that you will consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Give us a like, comment, let me know if you've tried any different kinds of pizza, a white sauce pizza rather than a red sauce. I would love to hear from you. And folks, I will see you again on the next video, which should be coming up shortly. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.